What's up? I'm Wicked, and today I'd like to open myself up as a source conduit so that we can get the discussion about power going. Source, God, She, the All, Universe, Allah, Buddha, etc. Whatever you call it, it's time that we all put down our swords and recognize that it's all the same thing. Us. We are a part of a collective consciousness, all dating back to one source of the all. For the purpose of this video, and likely most of my discussions, I'm going to refer to this power as source, but recognize that it all stems from within you. Now, this is something that some may consider blasphemous, and if you're one of those people, this certainly is not the video for you. However, if you felt that power within and you're looking to tap into it and learn how to utilize it, or you want to figure out how to utilize it more effectively, you might be interested in what I have to say. We live in an attraction-based universe, and this is really hard for a lot of people to wrap their minds around. Like attracts like is kind of the opposite of what most of us have been taught, and it's really, really hard for a lot of people to believe that they've attracted anything negative to themselves. People, by nature, are inherently narcissistic. We all want to believe that we're the best of the best. Even when we're wrapped in self-hatred, it's still really hard for us to look at what we're doing to put ourselves there. It's much easier to play the victim. But that is simply not the case in this universe. Everything that happens is happening because of you. The universe, source, God, etc. is never punishing you. It is simply always responding to you. Now, many people are going to struggle with this because they're going to say, Wicked, I don't want bad things to happen to me. I'm not a bad person, and yet here I am experiencing a lot of hardship. Now, what you need to understand about this is that you do not manifest from your conscious mind. That means all those happy little thoughts that you're thinking likely are not generating enough power to actually pull back what you're hoping to gain. We have multiple fractals of the self. There's the conscious mind, the higher self, the subconscious or the shadow, and the ego. Now, unless you have all of these things in alignment with your conscious mind, you're manifesting from different levels all at the same time. This is where we'll get into understanding toroidal fields and how they affect us, but first recognize that where you're primarily manifesting from, unless you're more conscious, is your shadow side. The shadow is where we bury all of our doubts and fears. It's where we repress everything that we were taught was either bad or wrong or unsightly about ourselves. As we bury these things deep down and we hide from them, we may forget that they're there, but they do not. And they will continue to sabotage us until we deal with them. This is why you can sit there and manifest with a positive mindset for years and still receive negative results. If you don't make peace with your shadow, it will always be trying to undermine what you're doing. The same too can be said about the ego, as it wants to stay in the known and in what's comfortable. Now, once you begin shadow work and you start to recognize that all of these things are hiding within you, things get a little bit more clear. It's easy to see how, as you stand in resistance to something, you are therefore vibrating at its same frequency and calling it back to you. So everything that you don't want, everything that you actively push away, is just streamlining right back to you. The only way to forgo this is active, radical acceptance of everything. And of course, as humans, we struggle with this. It's in our nature to fight what's around us. We want things to be the way that we want them. We want control, we want power, but it often stems from the wrong places. We seek to exert power over others more often than we do of ourselves. And until we can turn that back and figure out how to harness the power of our mind, we will always be a victim of this universe. This whole thing, this matrix, this game, it's all about your mindset. And if you aren't carrying an aligned mindset through all the different facets of yourself, you're going to see a lot of negative repercussions, and they're not going to look like what you're trying to manifest, and it makes it really, really easy to disbelieve all of these practices. People would rather stand in non-belief than actually take accountability for themselves. If you are one of those people, this likely is not the video for you, because you're just going to get mad at me telling you that your life is your fault. If you can't accept that, you also can't practice magic. If you cannot be accountable for yourself and your power, your magic will fail. It is my ultimate goal to give power back to the people, to make this a easy, free, accessible resource for everyone to figure out how to manifest the realities that they truly want. But you can't do that unless you're willing to take responsibility for your life, and most importantly, for your mind. Thoughts are the beginning of everything. Your thoughts become your emotion becomes your mood becomes your behavior, and your behavior becomes who you are. But what's more so, your thoughts become your emotions, and your emotions become your vibrational frequency. So the longer that you stand in an uncomfortable emotional state, the more likely you are to call back more uncomfortable emotions to you. It's really important for us to understand that the worse we feel, the further we are from our own source of power. Inner peace comes from alignment. And in order to be truly in alignment with yourself, you have to be willing to practice radical honesty with who you are and what you've got going on down beneath the surface. This is a vibrational reality, so anything you wish to manifest, you have to be able to match the frequency of. But once again, that doesn't start from the conscious mind. If you're carrying all of these repressed things deep down, it's going to continue to lower your vibration and therefore affect what you attract back to you. This is perhaps easier explained to say if you are hoping to make $1 million and you're manifesting this consciously, you're focused on wealth and abundance, and you're trying really, really hard to open up different opportunities and avenues for this money to come in, but nothing is happening, you need to take a look at the inner narrative that you have going on beneath the surface. If you're manifesting all of these positive things, but you have a voice in the back of your mind telling you that you've always been broke and you always will be, you're never going to bring these things in. That is your resistance, and resistance is the number one thing that keeps things from manifesting at all. If you wish to attain new things, you have to reach new mindsets and new vibrational frequencies. But none of us can do that without releasing our victim mentality. Power, all of it, no matter who has it, it all comes from within. It's not some divine outside source that's going to punish you for not following the rules. It's all within you. Any punishments or negative repercussions you're receiving are all stemming from deep within inside you. We see the world as we are on the inside. So, laws of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. As with the universe, so too with the soul. If you see the world as a dark and hateful place, you've got a lot of negativity buried deep down within you, and you need to start working to recalibrate your mind so that it works for you. If you see beauty and opportunity everywhere, it's likely that you've made peace with your shadow, or perhaps you just didn't have as much shadow work to do as some of the others. Which it is truly irrelevant. It's just all about the narrative that you have in your mind. In this reality, we speak into existence. Our words and our dictation holds so much power. So if you are speaking negatively about yourself or about anyone else, expect that to come back and prove itself to you. If you spend time speaking positively, speaking in support of what you want and what you're doing, you're likely to see very, very good results. This is why affirmations have caught such traction, because the more you speak to the universe, the more it speaks back. This is also an important time to understand the power of thought momentum. Abraham Hicks, one of the spiritual teachers in this world, has a theory on 17 seconds and thought momentum. The idea is that it takes 17 seconds for a thought to pick up momentum. So you have 17 seconds to decide if that's the train you really want to board. If you're thinking a thought that doesn't serve you, you don't have to, freak out while you're trying to practice these things and try to pull it back in and try to undo it. The universe already heard you, but it doesn't matter until you start really leaning into that momentum and really feeling the truth of that thought. If you don't like where your mind is going, you need to be strong enough to pull it back and put it on a different train, one that's going to serve you. The reason that so many people struggle with witchcraft, manifestation, power in any form, however you want to look at it, is because so many of us struggle to believe that we're really in control here. All of our lives, most of us have been taught that the power is outside of ourselves because it makes it easier for others to control us. But if you want to take that power back, you have to start with your mind. This is all a game of mind control and no, not of others, over yourself. This is, again, very hard for most people because nobody wants to take accountability for the thoughts going on in their minds. It's much easier to blame media, others, mental illnesses, etc. Now, of course, I'm not saying that these things aren't real and don't play a factor, but at the end of the day, it is all up to you and what you choose to entertain. If you're going to sit there and blame your life on everybody else, guess what? You're going to be screwed for the rest of it. But if you're strong enough to stand up and take your power back, take responsibility for the thoughts that you think and the way that you carry yourself in the world, then you're strong enough to really change your reality and reshape the world as we know it. Cowards never get anything done. It is people who are brave enough to stand up for what they want and what they feel is right that actually move mountains. Now, if you're being honest with yourself and you find that you are afraid, that you do carry a lot of doubts, and that the idea of taking responsibility for yourself is really overwhelming, that's okay. You don't have to do it all in one day, and there is definitely still hope for you. Some of the best ways that you can begin getting your power back is just opening up those conversations with yourself and meeting all of the different fractals of yourself with radical honesty. This means anything that flares up that makes you uncomfortable, stop shunning it away. Face it up. Accept it. Allow it to be what it is. You don't even have to change it. Just recognize that it exists within you. That alone is going to start changing your inner narrative enough that it's going to help you start working with yourself. Self-sabotage is a huge thing for many, many people. The only way we can begin to overcome it is to actually be honest with ourselves about why we're sabotaging. And a lot of us are going to stand there and say, I have no idea. I don't want bad things to happen to me. Once again, I'm a good person. I hope for good things for myself and for others. But there is a part of you that may not believe that you deserve it, or that others deserve it, or that you can even change the world. And as long as you hang on to that part, it's going to prove itself true. It takes radical honesty, complete self-acceptance, and a lot of willpower to actually effectively practice magic, manifestation, law of attraction. So many people want to shun away from this and be non-believers because they lack the ability to actually take that accountability. It's so much easier to stay a victim and blame the world. Well, it wasn't set up for a person like me. Everything works against me. Nobody cares. Blah, blah, blah. Negativity. Now, of course, if you're used to this narrative, the idea of going from that to abundant self-love is absolutely horrifying. I mean, you cannot get there from there. It's too big of a jump, and your ego is going to stop you in the middle and push you back to where it's comfortable with you being. It takes small steps forward, little practices for these things to really gain momentum, and it's important work to retrain your mind. None of this comes easily. All of this is meant to be hard. We live in a very dense reality. Things are the slowest to manifest here. They are the quickest within the thought realm. If you can ground into those thoughts and bring them down into this reality, one by one, little by little, it's all going to start to build and things around you are going to change, but only if you are open-minded enough to believe that more than what you have had and what you've experienced is possible. This is hard work, heavy work, but it is incredibly important. We are at a time of rising consciousness in our world, and it is vital that as many of us as possible wake up and actually claim our power. But we can't do that if we are doubting ourselves, our abilities, if we're doubting these practices. And this isn't to say that my way is the only right way, but I, at the very least, hope that it gets you thinking, gets you researching, gets you looking into these things, get you trying different practices, and ultimately just finding ways to make peace with yourself. All of this is about making your mind a happy home to live in. We are so much more than the conscious mind, but we often forget because we get wrapped up in the mundane life. But if you ever question if you're simply just the mind, just remember that consciousness cannot observe itself, just as the knife cannot cut itself and fire cannot burn itself. We are something else, another entity entirely split up and put into these vessels so that source can experience itself and expand in hundreds, thousands, millions of different ways all at the same time. This is overwhelming. This is exhausting. And as we are at such a rising point in consciousness, this is also why a lot of us feel so run down and drained, because there's so much fighting to keep us in the same spot. But for the more of us that wake up, the more power that we put into just claiming our lives, the harder it's going to be for anything else to stop us. The quicker these things are going to start to move, and the sooner we're going to start to see a change on a grand scale. We are at a pivotal time in our lives right now. Pluto is entering Aquarius, and this is going to change things on a big picture level. But if you choose to stand in resistance, even the universe itself cannot usher you forward. You have to want this. You have to want better for yourself, and you have to want to stand in your power. That takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of bravery. And once again, it is hard fucking work. This is not for anyone who wants to stand in a victim mentality and pretend that I can't do more. I can't do better. It's not my fault. I didn't ask for this. I don't want this. Somebody else is doing this to me. You have to scrap that narrative entirely. You have to be strong enough to look at things, to pick up on your triggers and realize where it is within you that you need healing. We've got a lot of interesting changes happening in the world right now, and there is nothing wrong with that expansion. But this whole idea that everybody else needs to walk around tiptoeing around everybody else's feelings so that we don't offend anybody else, fuck that. Fuck that. It is not my job, nor anyone else's, to coddle your feelings because you don't like something. That is something that you need to take up with you and the different parts of you. Anything that triggers you, upsets, offends, hurts your feelings, you need to take a look at where that is lying within you. If you look around the world and you see nothing but hate, it's because you're carrying hate inside. Once again, laws of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. As with the universe, so too with the soul. If you cannot accept this, you will remain a victim for the rest of your life, never wanting to go outside unless you have a bodyguard to protect your emotions. You need to be strong enough to fortify yourself against the rest of the world, and even stronger so that you can look at where these things are coming from within you. The longer that we play into a victim mentality, the longer that we act like everybody else is the problem, it's this group, this idea, that idea, the longer we're fucked. It is up to you and me to open up our minds and recognize that all of it starts in here. You don't have to let everybody else's water get inside and sink your ship. But if you're going to do that, don't be surprised when you drown. It's on you to claim your power. It's on you to do the work, the hard work, the uncomfortable work, the oftentimes painful work in order to change your reality. If you don't want to do this, remain a victim, but then don't be surprised when life never gets better. However, if you're strong enough, brave enough, and divinely inspired enough to want to take these steps forward, start small. Little practices with yourself. Get really honest about the narrative that you have going on in your mind and figure out where you can make those positive changes. Once again, it is my goal to bring power back to the people, so I'm going to have resources, practices, journal prompts, meditations, etc. to come. But for today, I just wanted to open up the discussion and give you an idea of what it is that I stand for, what I believe, and what I know to be true. This is decades in the making. I have been practicing this in this lifetime and many, many others. And it is just my hope that I can get you thinking about this enough to want to step back into your power, to want to take control of yourself, of your mind, and your life. And if I've accomplished that, most of my work is already done. This is a wildly new thing for me. I've spent most of this life being repressed, pushed down, told off because of my beliefs, threatened, worried, in fear because of the way that people like me have been treated through generations, throughout all of history. But I'm not standing in fear anymore, and it is my hope that you don't either. This is our time to take our power back, to make this reality, to make this life, to make this world what we really want it to be, and to no longer let others enslave us. Now, if this sounds like something that you're into, recognize it all starts with you. As with anything else, if you want to change the world, you have to start in your own backyard. You can't go out and help others until you make peace with you. And even then still, you're always going to have work to do. This never stops. There is constant influences in our world, always challenging us and causing us to expand or even regress. You have to be willing to do the work every fucking day. The second you get lazy, especially once you really get going with this, the second you get lazy, the universe is going to bounce back all of that resistance. And you're going to have to work through it once more. It doesn't stop. At least, it doesn't stop while the majority of our collective is walking around asleep. But the more of us that wake up, the more hope that we have. This is where I'm going to leave this one today, because it's definitely possible for me to tangent on about this for hours and to get really deep down into the nitty-gritty of things. But I want to keep this as an easy pill to swallow, or at least a smaller one for now. It's all about starting the conversation. It's all about getting you to think. It's all about getting myself to think about better ways that I can bring you this information, better ways that I can help you and myself. It's all about finding the right ways to expand and ensuring that we are constantly growing. So feel free to challenge my ideas. It's great for me and for you too. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and make sure to like and subscribe so that we can help each other stay within our power. Blessed be.